Yeah, okay, we'll do that very shortly. We'll get the photograph taken very, very shortly. Could I just request then our team to get set for the next session? Tarun Nangia will be moderating. We have with us Mr. Ashok Kumar Mittal, who is a Member of Parliament in the Rajya Sabha. He is the founder and Chancellor of LPU. Professor Dr. C. Rajkumar, founding Vice Chancellor of O.P. Jindal Global University, is with us. And Justice A.N. Mittal, former Judge of the Allahabad High Court, all with us. We were going to be discussing next in legal education and beyond. Let's have that conversation. Tarun, can we get you on stage, please?
Good evening, all of you, and this is one of my favorite subjects, legal education, next in law, what's happening next in law, and a very eminent panel that I have today. We have representations from politics, from law, and from education. So all the three bases are covered. But without wasting much time, we will start with somebody who has revolutionized legal education in the country. Professor Rajkumar. The last thing was about last week when we all got an opportunity. Even Honorable MP Shri Kartikeya Sharma ji also visited the Constitution Museum. And we saw learning via being part of the museum, via interactive learning. Movie theater where you can sit and learn. So you're changing education. Could you just reflect on that before we move on?
Yeah, thank you so much, Tarun. There was an effort which was quite unique for an institution to be able to establish a museum. And one of the things that when we set out to establish the Constitution Museum was that we had 5 objectives, and one was to promote civic education. For a lot of us, the Constitution ended up becoming a tool for lawyers and judges, but it has not yet seeped into the imagination of ordinary people of India. And so the first objective was to be able to promote enlightened citizenship and civic education. When you and I were in school, we had a subject called civics. Yes. And that subject, we got introduced to Constitution. But over the years, neither the subject exists nor the Constitution is taught in the way we had learned. In fact, I can say about all 4 of us in the panel. The second was that we were very conscious of the fact that we wanted to celebrate the members of the Constituent Assembly. If I ask many of us here, you would probably identify 10 members of the assembly at most, maybe 15, 20. But the 300 members of the assembly who were unsung heroes, so little were known about them, including 15 outstanding women who actively participated, so we want to pay tribute to them. The third objective was that we were very conscious of the fact that we need to make the Constitution more democratic and accessible for people. So in terms of information about the Constitution, we want to ensure that ordinary people are able to visit the museum. So the museum is an open invitation for people, and we don't charge anything as well. And the fourth, of course, was to recognize the fact that we are also celebrating the 75th anniversary of the adoption of the Constitution and what has happened in the last 75 years. And the fifth was to use the university, where a lot of young people are there, to be able to promote that ideas of Constitution and democratic governance so that they can become responsible citizens in the future.
Thank you, thank you. We'll go to Professor Ashok Kumar for his opening comment on legal education and what next for legal education. India is a country where, we have so many graduating and so many lawyers every year. Of course, now law has become diverse. There are lawyers practicing artificial intelligence as a stream, which the older lawyers are not. So how legal education needs to keep pace with the changing requirements of today's India?
Thank you very much, Tarunji. Actually, all systems are evolving, so is education. And of course, legal education is no exception to that. And I'm happy that in India, the legal education has been seen in a different way and being evolved regularly. Like, you are talking about artificial intelligence. if a new laws come on artificial intelligence, it's bound to come. There is nothing new in that. If there is a law, there will be evolution of education with that law. There used to be sale tax, then VAT came, now GST came. So we continue to evolve education. Similarly, in technical side also, if the new law comes, new technology comes, we'll have to evolve law, and that's a continuous process. But more than that, what I feel, it is said, students, while he's in college or in university, is he really learning law? Is it? Or not? That's a question. I also was a law student. So when you're in college, we do study 20, 30, 40 laws in 3 years or 5 years, not more than that. But there are thousands of laws in our country alone. Central laws, then state laws, then local laws, so many other things. So we can't study all the law. We understand the concept of law. That's one thing. Do we practice law while we are a student? That's the second question. No. There is internship. We do send our students to courts, 6 weeks visits, 2 months visits. But what do they do there? I was a student. He was also a student. What do they? We just go, chat, discuss, take tea and come back. We don't learn. We didn't used to visit courts. Means no learning. So how can we combat that problem? And advocates were given a good certificate that he has done a good job without being done any work in the court. So at LPU, we have evolved a process to combat that. Okay, we say that you will go for internship and will be paid for that. If you are getting money for your services being rendered to some advocate or to some organization, it means you are doing some serious work. Because when an organization or an advocate pays you money, he will make sure that you work there. And we evaluate how much money do you earn while you are under the supervision of some advocate or some other agency or some other organization. So that's our benchmark, one of the benchmarks. Of course, we do see what has he learned, what has he not learned, but that's one of the important benchmarks. And we also involve them, okay, please do some drafting. Drafting, and especially when they are working some legal firms. The drafting is important there. Are you able to do drafting? And you are being paid for that drafting by that legal firm? So that kind of things we are doing. And I hope
the judges usually have the last word on every segment. So I think Justice A.N. Mittal, your opening comment on this and what both the eminent chancellors said and how you see law, legal education progressing in this country.
Thank you very much for calling me here. Certainly, as two panelists have said, that certain improvements have been done in the legal education, but still, taking into consideration the modern technologies, and everybody knows that now law is the only study, after doing it, one cannot be unemployed. He will get job as per his qualification, as per his choice, no doubt. But as far as the legal education is concerned, certainly as told that there are thousands of laws which one cannot study. I agree with that. The syllabus must be drafted in such a way. Now everywhere the 5-year law course is being done. In 5 years course, we utilize 2 years for the either arts subject or science subject or some management subject or some other. My opinion is that instead of that 2 year, utilizing for the teaching of history, geography, whatever it is, it should be only 1 year. And next 2 years must be general studies of the law, like legal history, like jurisprudence, like Constitution of India, like other aspects, torts, and other things. Now, as I have experienced that if a person wants to go to a law firm or he is opting for the corporate law, you are giving him an education in the Indian Penal Code that is not required for him, because he will not practice in the criminal side. May be possible that he may switch over to the criminal side, but as you told that every law is not possible to be studied. So my opinion is that 1 year should be devoted to the art subject, next 2 years must be devoted to the general subjects, and remaining 2 years there must be specialization studies. Somebody wants to go to taxation, IPC is irrelevant for him. Somebody wants to go to constitution, for litigation, for him CPC is most relevant, drafting is most relevant, pleadings is most relevant, conveyancing is most relevant. So my opinion is that first year general subject, next 2 years general legal subjects, and next 2 years specialized subjects, and I suppose that only 6 months are given for the specialized subject. One option is taken from the student that whether he wants which specialized subject, maybe personal law, maybe constitutional law, maybe property law, maybe taxation, maybe international law, maybe personal law, whatever it is. So my opinion is that at least in a five-year law course, 2 years must be devoted for the specialization of that course.
Point very well taken. We'll take a final question. We have two honorable MPs, Kartikeya Sharma ji and Vivek Tankha ji. The idea of next in law came from him. So one question from him. Secondly, from Vivek Tankha ji, I learned is a deep involvement in education in Madhya Pradesh. In education. So you need lawyers in Gram Panchayats also. Those small courts where you work with so many bar associations, the kind of legal education required there is entirely different. Not the complicated sort of education that you need in Supreme Court, Delhi High Court or other commercial courts. So before we end this, one large question each from both the MPs, and then we can end this panel.
No, in fact, this is a very distinguished panel that you have in front of us. My one question to the panel is that a lot of new subjects have crept into our system. A lot of old subjects are not relevant as much in terms of actual practice. And we've been emphasizing, Rajkumar ji was there in our committee also, standing committee, that there's a huge need to revamp the curriculum. We are, you know, what was 30 years back, the curriculum continues to be the curriculum even today. When, like for instance, AI is the new buzzword. Now, so on and so forth, there are many subjects which today we do read in the law faculties. But virtually they have no relevance when we come into practice. I feel that a lot of new subjects which are relevant for today's world need to be introduced in the curriculum. That's what I feel.
And one question from a member of parliament, Kartikeya Sharma.
Well, I think maybe the process needs to become more easier for full-time professionals to become lawyers. That has become a big challenge. I think the way the space has evolved, people who have interest in law, but are professionals in their own profession or running businesses or whatever, do not find it very easy to do a law program anymore, what used to be the case. So a specialized program for professionals who want to learn law, it should be there, and then there should be a distinction between a graduate and a professional who's already reached a certain understanding. They cannot be treated the same. So if something of that sort can be done, would be greatly appreciated.
Two good suggestions if anybody wants to comment, and then we end.
Thank you very much. Kartikeya ji is my colleague. It's up to Bar Council of India. If they amend certain rules, it is doable. UGC, AICT, other regulatory bodies have already done that. The professionals are said professor of practice as education is concerned. Similarly, those who are professionals or professors, they should also be allowed to do practice. Some tweaking is required in the rules, not even the law, in the rules of Bar Council of India. Yeah, BCI rules. I think you can play important role in that.
So, Karthikeya, quickly I want to respond that if you are not keen to use the law degree for legal practice, that innovation has already happened in the sense that it has come much late in India. We started almost 4 years ago a BA in legal studies. NLS Bangalore just brought the humanities and social sciences in the form of a BA program. We have master's degree which are not LLM but masters focusing on law and business. So these are all precisely meant for professionals who want to study law but may not necessarily want to practice law. And globally that has been the trend. And Bar Council does not come into the picture because BCI is much more interested to focus on the legal practice. To answer your question, I entirely agree with you. The curriculum and course structure needs much more constant revision because of the kind of social, institutional and even business expectations from the role of lawyers. We are only in the early stages of artificial intelligence and robotics and machine learning. Increasingly, we will find more and more issues of this kind which are intersectional issues where it will have constitutional law implications, administrative law implications, even commercial law implications, and the existing paradigm of legal education is woefully inadequate. Although I must confess that the BCI does not prohibit innovations within a law school to do that. And so many schools have done it, including ours. But at a larger level, when we have 1,750 law schools in India, there is a need for a regulatory architecture which should push that reform.
Thank you, Professor Rajkumar, Honorable MP Ashok Kumar ji. And
certainly I agree with Mr. Tankha that the law syllabus must be revisualized. And much emphasis must be given on the part of the drafting, who wants to go in the law firm or in the practice. And certainly it shall be a good step that if the law professors are also permitted to practice in a court of law. And one thing I may also tell that there is much difference in LLB and LLM. In LLB it is taught that this is the law. But in LLM you study that why this is the law and what is the law of other countries. The goal of a LLB student is to take a degree. But the goal of the LLM student is to gain the knowledge about the law. And I am surprised. I just came to know that there are 1 year LLM. In 1 year LLM, what you can do? Unless you study the constitutional debates, you cannot understand the constitution. Unless you study the Saman, the Dean Roscoe Pound, HLA Hart, you cannot understand the jurisprudence. So the specialized studies must be done.
Thank you so much for making time and coming on this panel. Thank you so much.
Thank all of our experts for joining us today. And I request Karthikeya Sharma ji to please join us on stage to present a token of our appreciation to Professor C. Rajkumar, Founding Vice Chancellor of OP Jindal Global, to Mr. Ashok Kumar Mittal, Rajya Sabha MP and Founder and Chancellor of LPU, and Justice A.N. Mittal, former judge of the Allahabad High Court. Much to take away from that conversation on Next in Law. Is legal education keeping up with the times? With that, ladies and gentlemen, I will take a moment to introduce our next set of guests. Joining us at the third Law and Constitution Dialogue is Shri Subimal